What scientists have observed in deep space defies all logical explanation. Data from telescopes completely shatter all our fundamental theories. Space is behaving completely erratically right before our eyes. Every observatory on Earth is now recording a picture that is utterly impossible. We are looking at regions of the universe that should be teeming with activity. Instead, the instruments show a blood-curdling, unnatural void. Someone or something is literally erasing entire physical processes from reality. And we have absolutely no idea of the true scale of this looming catastrophe. According to everything we know, space should be a bustling place. Stars are constantly being born there, and massive galaxies collide. Advanced civilizations should leave noticeable traces of their large-scale activities. The ether simply must be overflowing with artificial signals and radio waves. Any logic suggests that we are far from alone in this world. But reality deals a crushing blow to our bold expectations. We hear absolutely nothing in this boundless expanse. Instruments detect only the dead silence of ancient stars and the cold vacuum. No alien communications, no distress signals, or traces of engineering. This ringing silence feels artificial and incredibly hostile. At first, we naively tried to chalk it all up to trivial technical errors. Scientists spent years double-checking the sensitivity of our massive antennas. Engineers searched for hidden software glitches in complex recognition algorithms. Governments spent billions on creating new, more precise equipment. We desperately wanted to believe in a random malfunction of our earthly machines. Now, these comforting illusions have been shattered by harsh new facts. Modern equipment works perfectly, without the slightest glitch. We see distant galaxies with incredible, previously unattainable crystal clarity. Telescopes detect the slightest changes in light over gigantic distances. And this only confirms the worst nightmare of modern astrophysicists. The great cosmic silence turned out to be no mere random natural background noise. It has a distinct structure that cannot be attributed to the chaos of the universe. We are observing the selective blocking of very specific communication bands. Someone has deliberately placed this invisible filter over the natural radio background, and that someone possesses truly terrifying technical power. Natural cosmic noise reaches us without any apparent problems. We can clearly hear the breath of dying stars and the whisper of distant quasars, but any signal resembling an artificial one is mercilessly destroyed en route. An invisible wall absorbs attempts at contact across gigantic interstellar distances. Our picture of a safe and comprehensible universe has developed a massive crack. We can no longer look calmly at the familiar starry sky. Behind every twinkling light now lurks a cold and calculating threat. The romance of space exploration has rapidly given way to a heavy existential dread. Humanity has suddenly realized its complete defenselessness in the face of the cold unknown. And the most terrifying part is only just beginning to gradually reveal itself to our eyes. If our physical models don't work there, then they are incorrect everywhere. We weren't simply mistaken about some minor details or calculations. We have a fundamentally flawed view of the very structure of the vast universe. The laws of nature we are accustomed to may turn out to be nothing more than a local, temporary illusion. We are about to peer into the abyss that has been staring back at us for a long time. The problem rapidly extends beyond the boundaries of our own solar system. At the beginning of our long observations, we sincerely hoped for a simple coincidence. Scientists believed that this frightening anomaly was purely local and temporary in nature. We tried to find simple and logical explanations for our tiny sector of the vast galaxy. For a long time, it seemed that dense clouds of cosmic dust were simply blocking the radio waves. Astronomers blamed strong magnetic storms and the strange behavior of neighboring pulsars. We really wanted to believe in natural barriers, preventing the weak signal from passing through. But new, intensive, and very in-depth studies have completely refuted this comforting, naive theory. We have significantly expanded our search area to cover many millions of light-years around us. The latest, expensive orbital observatories have confidently peered into the densest and brightest star clusters. There lie truly ancient rocky worlds with ideal climatic conditions. On these planets, biological life could have developed calmly and gradually over billions of long years. Strict mathematical logic practically screams of the inevitable emergence of advanced intelligence there. These vast regions of space must simply be teeming with incredible and powerful super-civilizations. The ether should be overflowing with their complex negotiations and the noise of colossal engineering projects. But instead of majestic stellar empires, we find the same eerie, empty silence. This grandiose invisible barrier works flawlessly, absolutely everywhere, without a single exception. We regularly examine neighboring massive spiral galaxies through the most powerful telescopes. Every time, researchers see exactly the same dead and cold picture there. The scale of this inexplicable dark phenomenon simply defies comprehension in the feeble human mind. Some incredible force rigidly and continuously maintains a state of complete radio silence across colossal territories. This suppression process occurs simultaneously at different ends of the observable universe. Carrying out such a global task requires a truly monstrous and continuous expenditure of resources. It requires pure energy that far exceeds the combined capabilities of millions of burning stars. Our modern classical physics simply does not know of any natural processes capable of such total control. Ordinary, random astronomical phenomena always create chaotic distortions of space. Supernova explosions leave behind highly unpredictable and incredibly loud radiation noise. Nature is completely incapable of creating perfect order on such gigantic galactic scales. But here, we constantly observe a perfectly smooth, mathematically precise, and unprecedentedly strict blockage. An invisible filtering barrier selectively and absolutely mercilessly erases any ordered information from the ether. Chaotic noise passes freely, while meaningful signals dissolve completely and without a trace. This bears a striking resemblance to the systematic operation of a colossal and soulless mechanism for cleansing space. The deeper we delve into the newly acquired data, the worse and more hopeless the situation becomes. Scientists have begun actively retrieving the earliest recordings from the first primitive radio telescopes. The old, dusty archives inexorably show that this systemic, ominous anomaly has always been present around us. Silence has accompanied humanity from the very first day of our tentative astronomical observations. We were simply too blind, inexperienced, and incredibly naive to notice its frightening contours sooner. For decades, Earth-based astronomers mistakenly believed this flat void to be ordinary, natural cosmic background noise. It seemed to us that our equipment simply couldn't pick up the hidden messages through all that interference. Now, with growing horror, we realize that all this time we've been staring right at a blank wall. If this is indeed large-scale artificial space engineering, then we are facing something utterly incomprehensible. The creators of this incredible, overwhelming system freely operate in categories completely beyond our feeble human comprehension. They play with the laws of physics as easily as children sift dry sand on a seashore. These beings are capable of fundamentally and permanently altering the properties of space itself on a galactic scale. Our advanced, proud Earth science seems simply pitiful and laughable next to such incredible technological might. We try to comprehend their majestic tools with the stone axes of primitive savages. The gulf between our level of development and theirs is absolutely insurmountable in the foreseeable future. To them, we are not even tiny insects, but merely a vanishingly small and utterly insignificant statistical error. Such a shocking scientific discovery forces us to immediately and radically rethink all our future ambitious space plans. Humanity has spent a very long time, at great cost and with great persistence, preparing for the coming triumphant colonization of distant and beautiful worlds. With immense, sincere enthusiasm, we spent days on end drawing up complex blueprints for giant generation ships and fast interstellar probes. National space agencies spent colossal global budgets on these bold expansion programs. Ordinary people believed with absolute sincerity in their exceptional and great historical destiny among the bright stars. Expansion seemed to us a natural and inevitable step in the proper evolutionary development of the intelligent species. But harsh reality instantly shattered these beautiful illusions of a bright future for humanity. Now these bold, bright dreams look like a very direct and short path to inevitable species suicide. This mathematically perfect and utterly cold cosmic void speaks with crystal clarity of the harsh rules of survival. In space, there is absolutely no room for frivolous strolls or naive, friendly, open interaction. Any actively developing young civilization inevitably runs up against this impenetrable and absolutely insurmountable limit. Further uncontrolled growth is harshly curtailed for the sake of preserving some higher global order unknown to us. Those reckless daredevils who once stubbornly tried to ignore the harsh rules of the game are likely long dead. Their flourishing planets quickly turned into lifeless, charred chunks of dead radioactive rock. All that remains are the utterly silent, extremely secretive, and completely submissive captives of this strange and terrifying universal system. And we have just realized with utter horror that we too are sitting in this cramped and dark, solitary confinement cell. We can no longer simply turn away and cowardly pretend that nothing terrible has happened. The grim realization of this invisible wall has forever and irrevocably poisoned our once joyful perception of the world around us. Carefree contemplation of the night sky has given way to a constant, paralyzing sense of an impending, all-encompassing threat. Every new day, leading scientists arrive at modern observatories on Earth with an incredibly heavy sense of absolute doom. Researchers no longer even attempt, nor do they wish, to seek wise, kind friends in this black and endless abyss. The romance of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence has finally died in the strict schedules of the stifling information noise. Now they are driven solely by the most basic and powerful primal instinct of species survival. They are simply desperately trying to understand exactly when this icy abyss will turn its merciless, cold attention directly upon us. And this is precisely where the most unpredictable, primary, and deadly threat to all of our fragile humanity lies. This most powerful, invisible, deadly filter surrounds us incredibly tightly and reliably at this very moment. It is not located somewhere infinitely far beyond the galactic frontiers known to us. It imperceptibly permeates our own solar system, monitoring all the surrounding space every second. The harsh laws of physics, which irrevocably destroy meaningful information in deep space, work just as well in our own planetary orbit. We are inside a grandiose mechanism that can trigger a process of total, complete eradication at any moment. The illusion of our safety is sustained only by the temporary and inexplicable leniency of this incredibly powerful, cold algorithm. We live by rules set by others, rules we are utterly incapable of comprehending. The realization of this universal isolation inevitably leads us to a terrifying conclusion. Our former technological complacency could cost us absolutely everything. For over a century, humanity has been actively transmitting powerful radio waves into outer space. We carefree rejoiced in our scientific achievements across the boundless ether. We never even paused for a second to consider who exactly might be listening. The joy of our first successful radio transmissions blinded our minds. People naively believed that the universe was filled with friendly and wise neighbors. This blind faith became our most fateful historical mistake. Every radio transmission we sent, every military radar signal left a noticeable trace. This ever-expanding sphere of signals has already encompassed hundreds of star systems. Our information bubble is swelling stronger with every passing second. We voluntarily and very loudly announced our physical existence to the void. Radio and television in the middle of the last century created a massive beacon around Earth. It continues to grow inexorably in all directions at tremendous speed. Any attentive observer could already have noticed this strange anomaly. The silence of space has been rudely disrupted by our television broadcasts. We carelessly sent our exact coordinates on the gold plates of spacecraft. It was an act of incredible, utterly unjustified historical folly on the part of our species. Scientists of the past wanted to show the universe the beauty of Earth's music and our culture. But they did not consider the possible deadly consequences of such a step. Along with this, they included a detailed map of our solar system's location. We drew a direct route to our home for any random cosmic passerby. These spacecraft now serve as ideal guidebooks for potential invaders. Our best intentions have turned into a monstrous mistake on a planetary scale. We are physically unable to retrieve these transmitted signals back to Earth. Radio waves continue their rapid journey through the cold interstellar vacuum. No force in the world is capable of stopping this flow of information. They race at the speed of light, carrying detailed information about our fragile home. No technology exists that can outpace light and erase this dangerous information. Our informational trail will exist in space for an eternity. Future generations will be forced to pay for their ancestors' carelessness. This loud echo of our presence cannot be silenced. If there are predators in this darkness, we have served ourselves up to them on a silver platter. We shouted loudly in the dark forest, where all other creatures held their breath. Advanced civilizations long ago created automatic probes to search for such reckless screamers. These machines have been wandering the galaxy for centuries, continuously scanning the empty ether. As soon as a careless signal is detected, its source immediately becomes a target. Stealthy hunters instantly calculate the coordinates of their next naive victim. Our planet now glows on the radars of all hostile forces. We have voluntarily painted a huge crosshair on ourselves. Perhaps this silence filter reacts only to a certain high level of noise. As long as civilization sits quietly on the planet, the system simply ignores it. Space predators conserve resources and ignore primitive biological worlds. But as soon as a technological species begins to glow brightly, the cleansing protocol is triggered. We do not yet know exactly what actions trigger this massive purge. Perhaps we crossed the sensitivity threshold many decades ago, but we know for certain that we have already grossly violated the cardinal rule of salvific silence. Our activity has exceeded all permissible safety limits. Astrophysicists are trying to calculate the exact radius of our currently expanding radio bubble. It already encompasses a vast number of old stars in our Orion arm. The affected radius is estimated at tens of light years in all directions. With each passing year, new, unexplored worlds fall into this danger zone. Any of them could be home to an ancient and powerful enemy. These beings might perceive our background noise as a direct, aggressive threat. Their defensive reaction would be lightning fast and utterly ruthless. Destroying the source of the noise would be a routine procedure for them. Scientists are frantically trying to calculate the time until a possible aggressive response. We nervously analyze how far our first radio transmissions have already traveled. If the cleansing force is relatively close, a retaliatory strike could happen tomorrow. No one knows how much time we have left before the final chord. We have absolutely nothing to oppose technologies of such monstrous and ancient levels. All our nuclear might will not stop what is capable of easily silencing entire galaxies. Defending the planet will become a completely pointless and pathetic attempt to survive. Our missiles look like pathetic toys against the backdrop of the true power of space. Some researchers pin their hopes on the simple scattering of radio waves among cosmic dust. They expect our signals to quickly fade and become unreadable far from the sun. This faint hope helps many scientists keep from going mad with fear. But modern alien antennas may be capable of picking up even the tiniest fragments of information. If we ourselves can hear the whispers of quasars, then we too will surely be heard. Alien technologies could reconstruct our message even from the faintest fragments. A highly advanced intelligence would easily distinguish our signal from natural background noise. Hoping for poor reception seems very naive. Many desperate researchers are demanding an immediate halt to all interstellar transmissions. They propose urgently imposing a complete and strict ban on sending messages. This is the only logical step in the current critical situation. But these belated defensive measures will no longer be able to reliably protect us. The invisible hunter has long since clearly picked up our radio trail in this boundless space. The process of our destruction may have been set in motion many years ago. All that remains for humanity is to sit and meekly await its inevitable fate. The anticipation of retribution paralyzes the will of humanity's leading minds. This critical situation completely turns our philosophy upside down. Previously, we considered our confident entry into space to be the greatest triumph of the mind. We proudly sent astronauts beyond the Earth's atmosphere. School textbooks on Earth praised the progress and courage of the first conquerors of orbit. Now, this rapid progress looks like a death sentence for our entire species. Our boldness turned out to be nothing more than the folly of foolish children playing with fire. Our own intellect has led us into a trap from which there is no physical escape. The greatest triumph has turned into evolution's most terrible mistake. Every time we look at the bright stars, we feel our vulnerability. The sky no longer shelters us under its dome, it exposes us. The boundless abyss is now associated in our minds exclusively with mortal danger. We are like helpless insects under the huge, cold, objective lens of a microscope. We may be under close observation right now as our foolish bustle is studied. The experimenters on the other side of the abyss are cold and utterly indifferent to our suffering. And we won't even sense the moment when they decide to end their experiment. Disaster may strike completely silently and instantly. Society is gradually becoming imbued with a premonition of an inevitable and massive catastrophe. In popular culture, the image of a friendly alien is being replaced by that of a ruthless executioner. Movies and books increasingly paint grim pictures of the Earth's total destruction. People are beginning to fear the very sky they once so sincerely admired. Every shooting star now evokes not a wish, but a cold, primal fear. We have become timid captives on our own beautiful planet. This paranoia permeates every sphere of our daily lives. Humanity finds itself locked in a death row cell of cosmic proportions. A heavy, almost palpable despair is rapidly growing within the scientific community. People who have devoted their entire lives to the study of space were the first to realize the scale of the catastrophe. Out of habit, they continue to work, but their eyes are filled with a hidden animal fear. None of them wants to be the very astronomer who witnesses the approaching end. They simply cannot tear their eyes away from the blank screens of the super-powerful radars. This fear is causing many to abandon their years of research entirely. Laboratories are emptying, and huge antennas are slowly rusting over. No one wants to be the one to bring the world the news of the end of the world. We have become hostages to our own insatiable curiosity and boundless arrogance. Earth has turned out to be a tiny, defenseless target in an incredibly hostile cosmic environment. We are desperately trying to find salvation in new, more complex mathematical models. But the dispassionate numbers only relentlessly confirm our complete and absolute doom. Illusions have crumbled, leaving us face to face with the merciless truth. Our world hangs by the thinnest of threads over the abyss of total oblivion. No one will come to our aid from this dark and cold void. The unknown is slowly but surely closing in around our isolated planet. When theoretical physics reaches a dead end, brutal biology comes to the rescue. Scientists have turned their keen attention to the basic evolutionary laws of species survival. We began to seek answers not in the stars, but in the behavior of earthly predators. In our earthly nature, there is a clear, logical explanation for sudden and total silence. The forest falls instantly silent in only one case, when a predator is lurking nearby. Small animals instinctively hide and stop making any loud noises. And now the entire observable universe behaves like this deathly frightened dark forest. Biological instincts turned out to be far more universal than complex mathematical formulas. This grim concept mathematically explains the complete absence of any signals. In the vast cosmos with limited resources, trust is an unaffordable luxury. Competition for energy and habitable planets is waged with absolute ruthlessness. No living being can know in advance the true intentions of an alien star civilization. Any first contact potentially carries the threat of total and rapid annihilation. An encounter between two races always ends in the destruction of the weaker one. Therefore, the most logical and advantageous strategy is absolute, paralyzing silence. Trusting and open species simply perish quickly in this cold environment. The distances between stars make it impossible to establish normal diplomatic dialogue. By the time a signal reaches the other party and returns, many hundreds of years will have passed. During that time, the alien civilization could make a massive technological leap. Communication under such conditions becomes a completely pointless and dangerous endeavor. Yesterday's peaceful neighbor could easily turn into an invincible cosmic tyrant tomorrow. The trajectory of an alien intelligence's development is impossible to predict or reliably control. This time lag precludes any possibility of building lasting trust. Fear of an unknown future forces everyone to keep their finger on the trigger. Every spacefaring civilization is forced to behave like a cautious and cunning hunter. They hide deep in the shadows of their home planets, trying not to make a sound. Camouflage becomes the top priority of their technological development. Any bright radio signal instantly and unmistakably reveals the position of a careless victim. In this dark galactic forest, only the most secretive and extremely suspicious survive. And those who called out to their friends too loudly have long since and irrevocably turned into cosmic dust. Natural selection on a galactic scale operates with terrifying and cold efficiency. Hunters mercilessly eliminate anyone who violates the strict regime of silence. Launching a preemptive strike is far cheaper than attempting to defend. A highly advanced race need only launch a single, relatively small projectile at the speed of light. Such a kinetic strike will destroy an entire planet before its inhabitants even realize what is happening. It is simply physically impossible to repel an attack traveling at such a speed. Defending against such a weapon on a cosmic scale is practically impossible. Therefore, everyone chooses attack as the only reliable way to ensure their safety. The first strike is always the winning one in this interstellar duel. This is a mathematically flawless rule of a ruthless cosmic game. We are not observing an empty universe, but a universe bound by a sticky, all-consuming terror. Billions of advanced species hold their breath in anticipation of inevitable doom. They are afraid to even turn on their radars to scan the surroundings. They are hastily building information shields and jamming their own powerful communication systems. Safety in this cruel world is guaranteed only by complete and flawless invisibility. No one will take a risk just to satisfy simple scientific curiosity, and absolutely no one will break this law for the sake of communicating with primitive Earthlings. Any response to our call will reveal the coordinates of the very kind neighbor who answered. Technologically advanced species are learning to harness the energy of entire star systems. They create dense cloaking fields that absorb all forms of electromagnetic radiation. From the outside, their star systems look like utterly lifeless, cold wastelands. The art of camouflage has reached incredible heights in this merciless galactic war. Real-life teams beneath impenetrable energy domes deep within the systems. There, incredible structures are being built, and grand civilizations are developing. But all their splendor is securely hidden from prying outside eyes. Hunters peer into space through these shields, searching for new, unsuspecting targets. This harsh rule makes our attempts at first contact incredibly dangerous. If we happen to joyfully discover an alien planet, we will become a deadly threat to them. They will interpret our signal as a direct target for their weapons. They will not waste precious time on complex diplomacy or peace negotiations. The logic of survival will categorically demand an immediate preemptive strike to destroy the enemy. The enemy will be annihilated before they have a chance to realize their mistake. In this ruthless game, only those who always fire first survive. The survival of one's own species is always more important than any lofty moral principles. Our terrestrial airwaves were blocked not by a natural physical filter, but by animal fear. An artificial, absolute silence is maintained by the very inhabitants of our ancient galaxy. They deliberately and very diligently create this illusion of emptiness for the sake of self-preservation. The Great Silence is the most reliable guarantee of their long existence. We simply did not know the harsh rules when we began persistently knocking on every door. Humanity behaved like a carefree child in the lair of sleeping bears. And now, these tightly shut doors seem to us the only possible salvation. The silence of space is a chorus of beings who are terrified of being eaten. Scientists have realized that searching for signals is tantamount to inviting trouble. By detecting an alien radio beacon, we attract the attention of the forces monitoring it. Any interference with an alien communication system risks immediate retribution. Perhaps some messages are deliberately sent out as deadly lures for newcomers. As soon as a naive race responds to such a beacon, it instantly destroys itself. Its coordinates are immediately transmitted to the strike units of a distant hunter. Space fishing is conducted on an incredible scale and with terrifying efficiency. We have played with this bait in the form of radio astronomy for far too long. Imagine the true scale of this global, universal technological paranoia. Intelligent beings have evolved over millennia, yet they never voluntarily leave their homes. They lock themselves away on their planets, as if in impregnable stone fortresses. They peer through powerful telescopes and see, in the distance, captives just as terrified as themselves. No one dares to take that first tentative step into this icy, hostile darkness. Technological progress becomes solely a tool for camouflage, not for great discoveries. Science is directed solely toward becoming even more invisible and secretive. The evolution of intelligence has led to the creation of perfect, invisible cosmic prisons. Our sincere pride in space achievements now looks simply ridiculous. We were incredibly proud of moon landings and communication satellites in Earth's orbit. Meanwhile, other ancient civilizations were learning to hide entire star systems. Their cloaking technologies have gone far beyond our comprehension. Our naive openness is a sign of extreme, borderline insane, evolutionary infantilism. We still think in terms of a safe and very cozy children's sandbox. It seems to us that the entire universe was created solely for our comfort. We haven't realized that the sandbox has long been in the middle of a minefield. Humanity will have to radically change its approach to space exploration. All projects to terraform Mars or send probes must be classified. Any change in our solar system could be detected by external observers. We must learn to hide our industrial footprint and the planet's thermal radiation. The construction of giant engines and stations must be carefully concealed in the shadows of the planets. We must become masters of camouflage on a solar system-wide scale. Radio silence must become the new law of our future space age. Only those who learn to move absolutely silently will survive. In light of this terrifying hypothesis, every falling meteorite arouses grave suspicion. What if it's not just a cold rock, but a reconnaissance probe from an unknown enemy? What if the bright flash of a distant star is merely an echo of an alien war of destruction? Space no longer seems to us a place for bold discoveries. Our fragile psyche simply cannot cope with such a constant, looming threat. Space has finally turned into an endless minefield right above our heads. The feeling of constant surveillance is driving the planet's best astrophysicists mad. Paranoia has become our natural and everyday state of mind. We have definitively and irrevocably lost our cozy and familiar stellar home. The romance of interstellar travel has died forever in the harsh calculations of sociologists and mathematicians. We no longer need to build massive ships to colonize distant star systems. Dreams of the stars have been replaced by the harsh necessity of hiding in the darkness. We urgently need to learn how to remain invisible in this cruel, dark forest. Any slip-up in camouflage will immediately attract the attention of a merciless executioner. Otherwise, our brief history will end just as quickly as it began. But there is an even more sophisticated and truly terrifying explanation for this universal silence. Perhaps this powerful cosmic barrier is directed solely against us. We may be right now at the center of a gigantic, artificially created quarantine. Someone incredibly powerful and ancient has securely isolated Earth from the rest of the galaxy. And this was done for the safety of the rest of the peaceful, intelligent cosmos. Advanced civilizations could have easily detected us long before our rapid technological development. They carefully analyzed our true nature and came to extremely grim conclusions. Humans are deeply genetically predisposed to senseless cruelty, domination, and total destruction. We are constantly at war with one another, mercilessly destroying our own fragile biosphere. To ancient, wise races, we appear as an extremely dangerous and completely unpredictable cosmic virus. Our aggressive behavior causes them nothing but justified and intense alarm. You would never voluntarily let an aggressive virus into your clean laboratory. You would immediately place it in an airtight flask with very thick, sturdy walls. The entire solar system has become just such an invisible and absolutely reliable flask for us. We have been securely locked in here until we learn complete and absolute self-control. Until that long-awaited moment, any of our external contacts will be strictly blocked. The overseers will not tolerate the slightest violation of the established strict regime. Scientists suggest that a gigantic, invisible energy sphere has been created around our system. It functions as a perfect one-way information filter for all passing radio waves. This shield allows only the safe, natural noise of stars igniting and dying to pass through. Any artificial signals from other civilizations are instantly and completely absorbed by this powerful shell. That is why our Earth-based antennas always detect only a frightening and utterly lifeless void. We are being artificially subjected to a convincing illusion of complete isolation in the universe. This quarantine shield perfectly transmits ordinary light from distant galaxies and stars. We have been graciously and condescendingly allowed to observe the beautiful scenery of the vast universe. But this same filter immediately destroys any meaningful technological information from the outside. We are fundamentally prevented from peeking at others' advanced technologies or receiving wise counsel. We are simply left to fend for ourselves on this lonely blue planet. Our species' development must proceed exclusively through natural and independent means. This incredibly logical theory deals a fatal blow to our inflated human ego. We have always selfishly considered ourselves the crown of creation and the main hope of the entire visible galaxy. Suddenly, it turns out that we are merely juvenile, dangerous criminals in a strict penal colony. We may be constantly and completely silently observed, with our mistakes and rare successes recorded. But no one has any intention of engaging in an open and equal dialogue with us. No one in their right mind engages in small talk with dangerous biological parasites. The overseers surely use hidden probes to monitor the Earth's surface in detail. They can easily hide their devices in the deep ocean trenches or on the far side of the moon. These automated spies continuously collect data on our social and technological progress. They record every nuclear explosion and every military satellite launched into orbit. All this information is carefully gathered to deliver a final verdict on all of humanity. Every historical step we take is under round-the-clock and the most intense scrutiny. Our massive modern telescopes are not, in fact, windows to the world at all. They are merely cold mirrors reflecting our own total intellectual loneliness. We stare blindly at the invisible and incredibly sturdy walls of our spacious chamber. And we are not even capable of understanding the true physical nature of these confining walls. Our earthly science studies only those phenomena that are officially permitted by hidden overseers. All the fundamental laws known to us may turn out to be nothing more than internal regulations. Attempts to force our way through this rigidly established barrier may be interpreted as direct aggression. If we ever build a ship that is too powerful, the quarantine system will react instantly to the threat. A soulless, defensive algorithm will simply wipe us out of reality without any emotion or regret. We will never be allowed to spread our human biological infection to other pristine worlds. We will either finally mature on Earth or disappear forever without a trace along with it. There is simply no third option in this strict cosmic prison. Our entire long history suddenly takes on a completely different, frightening, and strange meaning. Great human empires have fallen, while cutting-edge technologies have developed under strict supervision. Perhaps we are deliberately and very carefully prevented from making a qualitative breakthrough in quantum physics. The overseers very subtly stifle our scientific ambitions when we get too close to the edge. We live in a comfortable illusion of freedom, while being utterly submissive and blind puppets. Our supposed free choice is strictly limited by the length of our short leash. Some historians suggest an artificial, systematic suppression of our species' progress. When humans invented destructive nuclear weapons, we approached the most dangerous red line. It is quite likely that it was precisely then that quarantine measures were maximally and very strictly tightened. The Guardians will not allow monkeys with grenades to escape beyond the confines of their home system. Any of our programs to colonize other planets may be doomed to failure from the start. We simply will not be allowed to build reliable bases even on our neighboring Mars. The thought of such global external control evokes a sense of the deepest and darkest hopelessness. Our long-held, bold dreams of free flights to the stars shatter against cold mathematical calculation. We will never leave this cramped prison cell until we radically change our nature. And human nature, as history so vividly and bloodily demonstrates, changes incredibly and painfully slowly. Most likely, we simply won't have enough time to successfully pass this difficult cosmic exam. Time is working strictly against our aggressive and very stubborn civilization. The psychological strain on the global scientific community is becoming utterly unbearable with each passing day. Researchers are forced to admit their complete helplessness in the face of these invisible, powerful jailers. Many promising astrophysical projects are being shut down due to the utter futility of further attempts. Why spend billions searching for signals if a massive antenna is covered by an impenetrable dome? Science is gradually turning into a mere description of the dimensions of our own closed cell. We have become experts solely in studying the inside of thick prison bars. Society is not yet at all ready to accept such a terrifying and deeply depressing truth. The realization of total quarantine could easily lead to global panic and the complete collapse of civilization. Religions would instantly crumble, and governments would lose control over citizens driven mad by fear. Therefore, even if leaders have ironclad evidence of isolation, they will carefully conceal it. It is vital for people to believe in their own significance and independence for a normal existence. The illusion of one's own greatness is the primary sedative for our collective mind. But it is physically impossible to hide the truth forever in an era of rapid information development. Independent researchers are constantly finding strange anomalies in the distribution of cosmic radio emissions. These bits of data are slowly but surely coming together to form a single, terrifying picture. We are beginning to notice obvious artificial seams in the dome of our starry, clear sky. Sooner or later, humanity will be forced to look this cruel truth straight in the eye. The awakening from this pleasant dream will be incredibly painful and extremely destructive. What, then, are the true criteria for our early release from this cosmic prison? Perhaps we must completely and permanently renounce all destructive, lethal weapons. Or we must learn to live in absolute harmony with our planet's entire biosphere. As long as we cut down forests and poison the oceans, we prove our extreme evolutionary immaturity. The guards expect us to achieve a global spiritual and social unification of all existing nations. Only then will the invisible lock on the doors of our enormous cell one day click quietly. But there is also a far darker scenario for the unfolding of current historical events. What if this strict prison was created not at all for our future rehabilitation? What if we have simply been securely isolated so that one day we can be safely and completely painlessly destroyed? We may have long been sentenced to the ultimate punishment, and now we are merely awaiting the execution of that sentence. This brilliantly explains why no one is making any attempt whatsoever to communicate with us. Executioners never engage in heartfelt conversations with those condemned to certain death. And with every new sensational scientific discovery, the boundaries of this cage feel ever sharper. We understand with crystal clarity that our physics is confined to a single, strictly designated space. Any attempts to look beyond the permitted limits result in new, unsolvable paradoxes. We are shown exactly as much of the universe as is necessary to maintain the illusion of freedom. This is a brilliant and incredibly cruel system of total torture of our proud minds. We are all locked in a labyrinth from which the creators never intended an exit. The great silence of the cold ether is the harsh and final verdict on our aggressive civilization. We scream into the void, but our voice does not even leave the orbit of cold Pluto. All our golden records with messages are simply useless space junk thrown into the vacuum. No one will come to our aid in the event of a global catastrophe or climate crisis. We are entirely left to our own devices in this solitary confinement cell of strict cosmic discipline. And our mysterious overseers possess truly infinite and terrifyingly cold patience. The vast cosmos has absolutely no love for those who cannot live in harmony with the world around them. It rejects senseless aggression and harshly punishes young species for their excessive imperial ambitions. Our Earth has become a vivid example of how quickly attempts at cosmic expansion are nipped in the bud. We will sit in complete darkness until we become worthy of the bright light. And it is incredibly effective at isolating such dangerous and unstable biological anomalies. But there is another, even deeper level to this daunting cosmic mystery. What if the very structure of our surrounding reality isn't truly physical? This perfect isolation may be inherently built into the most fundamental architecture of our universe. Scientists are beginning to seriously discuss the bold theory of a grand computer simulation of our lives. And it is precisely this that brilliantly and extremely simply explains absolutely all of our unsolvable astronomical paradoxes. The idea that our world is virtual is far from new, but now it is gaining clear evidence. Physicists are constantly discovering strange mathematical patterns at the deepest quantum level. The behavior of microparticles bears a suspiciously strong resemblance to optimization algorithms in modern video game engines. Matter acquires its precise properties only at the moment of direct, conscious observation. Until you look at an electron, it exists only as a probabilistic cloud of data. This is a classic method of conserving system resources in any complex computational program. Machines' computing power always has its own rigid and absolutely insurmountable limits. Rendering billions of complex civilizations simultaneously would require an unimaginable amount of RAM. Any supercomputer would inevitably freeze up under such a colossal influx of new incoming data. Therefore, the clever control system simply erases unnecessary radio traces to preserve overall stability. The silence of the airwaves is a routine hardware attempt to urgently conserve the scarce system resources of a massive simulation. It is simply not worth the program's while to process what we cannot verify anyway. Every additional intelligent species in the universe exponentially increases the overall load on the main server. Their complex technologies, thoughts, and chaotic movements generate terabytes of unnecessary digital noise. To prevent the server from melting down, the administrators have strictly limited the number of active players on a single map. We are likely the only running process in this vast virtual sector. All other galaxies have been left completely empty to conserve precious computational energy. Our solitude is dictated solely by dry, technical, strict specifications. This explains, quite logically, why we see the light of distant galaxies so clearly and distinctly. Rendering ordinary photons of light in flight is quite easy for any modern control program. It's simply a beautiful flat, two-dimensional image in the farthest background of our virtual world. It serves merely as a spectacular, inexpensive backdrop and requires absolutely no in-depth physical modeling. The observer is simply continuously shown a static, starry sky to maintain the beautiful illusion of reality. We enjoy high-quality, high-resolution digital textures every clear night. The creators of the simulation ingeniously solved the problem of filling the empty background around our planet. They simply wrote scripts for the stars to glow, which consume a minimum of RAM. It seems to us that we are looking at incredible, enormous thermonuclear reactors. In reality, we see only pixels lighting up according to a simple, predefined algorithm. Studying these pixels through telescopes gives us no information about the Creator's real world. We are simply endlessly studying the rules of the graphics engine of this perfect machine. But a full-fledged simulation of intelligent activity requires truly colossal computational resources. Every foreign thought and every complex radio signal critically overloads the unknown central processor. Therefore, a clever program carefully and quickly mutes this sound for the vast majority of background processes. As a result, we always find ourselves in a completely empty and strictly isolated dedicated server cell. The strict suppression of interstellar signals is simply a built-in, reliable system software firewall. It blocks any attempts to establish a direct connection with other virtual sandboxes. Many paradoxes of quantum mechanics are easily explained in terms of software code. The Planck length is the smallest possible size of an object, a kind of basic physical pixel of our universe. You cannot split this pixel in half because the coordinate grid has strict limitations. Quantum entanglement works like a simple software linkage between two variables in a shared database. Changing one variable instantly changes the other, ignoring any vast virtual distances. For the central processing unit, there is no distance. There are only neighboring, close memory cells. Our famous and unshakable speed of light no longer seems like a fundamental law of the universe. Within the framework of this daunting cybernetic theory, it takes on a completely mundane and technical meaning. It is merely the maximum speed of information processing on the local server hardware in use. Space simply cannot transmit data faster than the processor of unknown external creators allows. All of our vaunted earthly physics is simply a set of software limitations of the currently running simulation. We are not measuring the properties of nature, but the clock speed of a gigantic alien computer. Modern, super-powerful telescopes are now literally hitting the edge of our rendered location. We're acting like naive players trying to go beyond the boundaries of a drawn game map. We see beautiful digital nebulae in the distance, but we can't physically get there. The great cosmic silence works exactly like this basic invisible system wall. And no signal will ever come from there, because there is absolutely no one there by design. The far reaches of space are a completely dead zone without any physical content. Black holes may not be objects with super-dense and mysterious gravity at all. It is quite possible that they are simply system utilities for clearing the program's overloaded RAM. They absorb matter and irrevocably erase information, freeing up space for new computational processes. The observed distortions of space around them are ordinary visual artifacts of the engine. When the program encounters a computational error, a singularity like this arises. This is how the architects of this world elegantly conceal glitches in their complex mathematical formulas. This terrifying thought instantly destroys the concept of our higher cosmic purpose. Our grand scientific discoveries, profound human emotions, and great art are completely meaningless. We are merely temporary lines of a highly complex mathematical code in a massive alien computer. We are desperately struggling to survive inside a machine that could simply be unplugged. Existential horror reaches its absolute, insurmountable limit here. We have nothing to hold on to, for the very foundation of our existence is pure illusion. Invisible programmers do not interact with the code at our low, primitive level at all. They simply quietly release another global patch whenever we slip out from under strict control. The global cataclysms of the past may have been precisely such hard reboots of a frozen operating system. The extinction of the dinosaurs looks like the mundane removal of biological models that were too cumbersome and resource-intensive. Our overly persistent and loud attempts at communication can easily be interpreted as a critical system error. And then we, too, will simply be wiped out to optimize the operation of this cruel virtual world. An antivirus system is capable of completely automatically clearing our infected sector of unnecessary noise. It is utterly devoid of pity or compassion for sentient beings within the simulated process. A single small update to the base code will erase humanity forever in a fraction of a millisecond. We won't even have time to realize our own demise, as time itself will instantly stop for us. All accumulated history will be erased from RAM, with no possibility of full recovery. For the administrators, this will be nothing more than a routine disk cleanup before the next test run. Who could have created this grandiose, flawless, and chilling digital construct? Perhaps it is a superior race that miraculously survived the heat death of their real, authentic universe. They uploaded their digitized consciousness into a secure matrix for an eternal and very boring life. In that case, we might be fragments of their dreams, or randomly generated simple bots. Or we might simply be a random byproduct of the researcher's abstract mathematical model. The truth is forever hidden behind an impenetrable wall of alien and utterly cold system code. The creators may not even suspect the existence of true self-awareness within their cumbersome formulas. They may be testing physical models of galaxies, completely oblivious to the mold on one of the planets. To them, our lives last only a couple of short cycles of their incredibly powerful central processor. Our wars, sufferings, and great discoveries have absolutely no practical value to them. We are merely a statistical error resulting from inaccurate software rounding of numbers. The realization of our insignificance destroys the last remnants of our human dignity. Scientists wonder if it is possible to deliberately provoke a system failure to test the theory. Physicists are trying to create paradoxical conditions in colliders to trick the underlying physics. We naively hope to see snippets of code through cracks in the fabric of simulated space. But any such experiment carries a colossal and utterly unpredictable risk to our survival. If we find a breach, the system may respond by immediately erasing the entire damaged location. Playing games with the Matrix administrators is the most dangerous endeavor in the history of our science. It is quite possible that we have already experienced similar catastrophic reboots in the distant past. The memory of these events was completely erased, leaving only vague echoes in ancient myths. Legends of global floods and the destruction of old worlds may be memories of previous versions of the program. Time and again, we run through the same scenario, hoping for a different outcome. But the rigid framework of the algorithm always leads us to the same dead end of the Great Silence. The simulation simply cannot generate new meanings from old, limited variables. We are helpless hostages of a reality that isn't even truly alive. The universe turned out to be nothing more than a vast, frigid cage built from bare mathematics. We stubbornly try to find human logic where only a dry, soulless algorithm operates. Every new theory only entangles us further in this endless web of digital illusions. The hope for genuine contact with another mind finally dissolves into the dead pixels of emptiness. Our loneliness is absolute, mathematically precise, and programmatically unbreakable. Our science is utterly powerless in the face of the one who single-handedly controls the very socket. We cannot rebel against physics, which itself serves as a reliable prison bar. All that remains is to meekly play the role assigned to us in this grand alien spectacle. Perhaps the highest meaning lies precisely in accepting our virtual and purely temporary nature. And this is the most terrifying philosophical discovery in the entire short history of our small species. With every new incredible discovery, our former scientific certainty melts away before our eyes. We have come right up to the very edge of human understanding of the reality surrounding us. all the latest astrophysical hypotheses lead to incredibly depressing and frightening conclusions. The sleek, modern framework of cosmology is beginning to crack loudly at the seams right beneath our feet. Scientists are desperately and unsuccessfully trying to find even the slightest logic in this universal madness. In the past, astronomy gave people nothing but inspiration and a sense of great hope. We proudly launched new satellites and sent probes to the very edges of the solar system. Every new image of a distant galaxy sparked wild excitement in the global media. Now, however, these beautiful cosmic landscapes evoke only a crushing sense of anxiety and distrust. We realize with horror just how superficial our former enthusiastic scientific assessments were. Classical Earth science has suddenly turned into a pitiful and utterly helpless spectacle. We are desperately trying to read a tightly sealed book using a conventional optical microscope. We currently have absolutely no real chance of finding the right key to the mechanism. The true reality of the universe lies infinitely far beyond the limits of our feeble biological perception. Evolution has not prepared our modest brains at all for phenomena of colossal cosmic scale. Our minds have been shaped over millennia exclusively to solve simple survival problems in the wild. The human brain is excellent at calculating the trajectory of a thrown stone or fleeing from a fast predator, but it is completely overwhelmed by multidimensional paradoxes or the incredible scales of cosmic time. We are trying to comprehend the behavior of galaxies using a tool created for primitive gathering. This rigid biological barrier may turn out to be the greatest obstacle in our path. We are like blind, frantic ants inside a complex, modern, functioning nuclear reactor. All we can do is passively record anomalies and form incredibly tentative conjectures. Every new theory proposed by anxious astrophysicists turns out to be far more terrifying than all the previous ones. We wander blindly in impenetrable cosmic darkness without the slightest clue to our salvation. Science has finally turned into an endless wandering through a vast labyrinth with our eyes closed. World-class scientists now often compare their work to the banal practice of reading coffee grounds. All our vaunted mathematics has faltered in the face of the perfect void of the cold radio spectrum. Instruments dutifully churn out terabytes of data, but these numbers are utterly devoid of any meaning. We construct increasingly complex formulas, desperately trying to justify our former bold expectations, and every time, this complex thought experiment ends in a crushing and painful failure. Our familiar reality has turned out to be an incredibly hostile and highly complex environment. Something truly colossally powerful is deliberately blocking all signals from deep, dark space. We still have absolutely no idea why this strange process is happening around us. Perhaps it really is better for us never to learn this devastating truth. Some of the universe's terrifying secrets must remain forever hidden in the darkness of universal ignorance. The search for truth may turn out to be the most dangerous pursuit in the entire long history of our species. Sometimes it is far better to remain in the cozy darkness of one's cave than to venture out into an unknown storm. Hunters of extraterrestrial intelligence are increasingly contemplating the moral responsibility for their reckless actions. One careless move could easily attract the attention of forces millions of years more advanced than us. The retribution for such scientific childish arrogance will be swift and utterly merciless. The paradox is that new knowledge no longer brings us relief. The more telescopic data we collect, the less meaning we find in it. We find strange, enormous objects that completely contradict the known laws of physics. Cosmology has rapidly and irrevocably transformed from an exact science into a collection of inexplicable horrors. The answers we long for constantly slip away from us. like dry sand through clenched fingers. Astronomers are constantly recording unnatural bursts of energy and strange movements of entire star clusters. These grandiose phenomena cannot be explained by the natural laws of gravity or conventional thermodynamics. It feels as though someone is rudely interfering with the mechanics of the universe right before our eyes. But the scale of this interference is so vast that our minds simply refuse to believe it. We cowardly attribute it to instrument errors so as not to go mad from the looming horror. We have finally realized the absolute insignificance of our current understanding of the laws of physics. All of Earth's great discoveries have turned out to be merely a tiny drop in the vast ocean of absolute unknown. Reality is actually far stranger, colder, and more ruthless than any of our fantasies. Our inflated collective human ego has suffered a crushing blow of incredible destructive force. We are no longer the all-powerful masters of nature, but merely accidental, uninvited guests in a stranger's house. The illusion of our species' greatness has dissipated like a light morning mist under the rays of a merciless sun. We took immense pride in our flights to the moon and the construction of orbital research stations. But on the scale of even our tiny galaxy, these achievements look like pitiful and laughable efforts. We haven't even learned to fully utilize the energy of our own home planet yet. To speak of any lofty interstellar status under such conditions is simply foolish and absurd. Popular science has long and vividly promised us a bright and joyful cosmic future. Science fiction writers described in detail the beautiful worlds of triumphant reason and interstellar peaceful brotherhood. We were assured that one day we would surely become full-fledged citizens of a vast galaxy. Harsh reality has taught all of humanity an extremely cruel, sobering, and cold lesson. Space is certainly not waiting for us with open, warm arms and friendly greetings. There is definitely no friendly, benevolent federation of planets or wise, caring mentors out there. No one will invite us to the table of intergalactic negotiations or gift us advanced, life-saving technologies. For decades, our popular culture has painted an absolutely false and extremely naive picture of the future. The reality of the situation demands strict military discipline and the utmost secrecy from us. Otherwise, we will inevitably become easy prey for those who long ago abandoned all moral principles for the sake of survival. The great silence of the airwaves makes it clear that there are very strict, invisible rules. We are forced to silently and meekly submit to the dictates of an unknown force that vastly surpasses us. Radio telescopes now bring weary scientists far more primal fear than sincere hope. We stare intently at the dark monitors and are terrified of seeing an answer there. Any intelligible radio signal received will inevitably and instantly shatter our fragile, illusory world. Every engineer on duty at a radio telescope now experiences the heaviest psychological pressure. Instead of anticipating a joyful scientific miracle, they sit waiting for an alarm of cosmic proportions. Detecting a real signal now means becoming the herald of an impending, inevitable apocalypse. This heavy burden is driving many talented researchers mad, forcing them to abandon their profession forever. Scientific research centers are gradually turning into grim early warning posts for an attack. If we suddenly hear an alien voice, we will have to immediately prepare for the worst. A suffocating, heavy paranoia has already deeply permeated all modern space exploration programs. Absolute silence has long been our curse, yet it is also our only shield. As long as the infinite cosmos remains silent, we can calmly and illusorily continue our daily lives. Ignorance has proven to be a far more comfortable and safe state for the human psyche, which is so vulnerable. Governments of all nations are secretly revising their strategic military defense doctrines. In deep, sealed bunkers, Generals are devising plans in case of a sudden cosmic invasion. These plans are utterly laughable against the weapons of civilizations capable of easily extinguishing entire stars. But the illusion of preparedness helps world leaders retain their sanity, at least to some extent. We hide our animal fear behind dry military protocols and useless, tedious reports. This forced humility comes at the cost of immense mental anguish and bitter disappointment. A proud race of pioneers is forced to admit that we are helpless prisoners of our own limitations. We stand before a locked door, behind which lies either absolute knowledge or certain death. And right now, the wisest decision is simply not to touch that cold doorknob. Let the massive door remain closed until we find a way to peer behind it in complete safety. We instinctively and deeply hide behind this wall of silence from existential threats. Our global loneliness has grown into a primal fear of the unknown hidden in the darkness. We are terrified to take even a single small step forward into this frightening black darkness. A massive barrier reliably and sternly guards secrets for which we are categorically unprepared. And we gradually, with a heavy heart, learn to come to terms with our humiliating, total ignorance. Despite all the horror we experience, our basic human curiosity cannot simply be turned off. Humanity will inevitably continue to listen intently to the void every long, clear night. Astronomers will endlessly and stubbornly search for the slightest cracks in this monolithic, invisible barrier. Our young species is evolutionarily and very rigidly programmed for the continuous search for hidden truth. We are relentlessly driven forward by a thirst for knowledge, no matter how deadly it may be. This insatiable thirst for knowledge is literally woven into our very basic biological DNA. We have stubbornly explored every continent, plunged to the bottom of the oceans, and climbed the highest mountains. We have always been magically drawn to the horizon and the unknown that lies far beyond it. Prohibitions and mortal dangers have never stopped true, courageous pioneers. Our restless minds perceive the daunting barrier of space not as a wall, but as yet another challenge. We will persistently and tenaciously continue our work to the limits of our technical capabilities, even if this bitter and terrifying final truth threatens us with complete physical annihilation. This unquenchable curiosity is our primary, and perhaps most terrifying, species-specific curse. It was precisely this curiosity that once compelled us to climb down from the trees and build the first space rockets. We are simply physically incapable of stopping halfway toward unraveling the great mysteries of the universe. Completely new telescopes are being designed, capable of detecting gravitational waves with unprecedented precision. Engineers are building neural networks that analyze quantum noise in the hope of uncovering hidden patterns there. Funding for these mad programs continues, despite growing fears and widespread panic. Scientists are willing to risk the entire world for a single, brief answer to their questions. Our collective obsession with solving the mystery borders on global and utterly incurable madness. But now we look at the night sky with completely different eyes, matured and frightened. The stars no longer seem to us like inviting, friendly worlds for exciting interstellar journeys. These cold, twinkling points of light evoke in us only a clammy dread and deep unease. They are cold, soulless eyes that watch us intently, attentively, and very silently. Space mercilessly assesses our unimaginable weakness and our incredible, suicidal, childish carelessness. Every familiar constellation has turned into a symbol of impending and utterly inevitable external disaster. Astronomy has lost its former poetic romance and has become a strict and dry military discipline. Poets no longer sing of the beauty of moonlit nights, and the mysterious, soft light of the Milky Way. Art has rapidly become imbued with themes of cosmic loneliness and total, cold hopelessness. Our entire culture is slowly and painfully adapting to this terrifying new reality. Perhaps one day we ourselves will safely reach an incredible level of universal wisdom. We will miraculously survive our internal bloody conflicts and enter a qualitatively new stage of development. We will finally understand clearly and distinctly why it was vitally necessary to carefully conceal our presence. And then, we will voluntarily, fully consciously, and permanently shut down all our loud, powerful transmitters. We will simply stop attracting unnecessary attention from the formidable and unknown inhabitants of the galactic depths. The realization of this harsh necessity will inevitably come to us through brutal crises and bitter experience. We will clearly understand that the survival of an entire species is more important than the fleeting glory of radio transmissions into the deafening void. National governments will finally unite in the face of a common, immense, universal threat. Technology will be directed not toward the conquest of space, but toward perfect global camouflage. We will build our own invisible shield around Earth to protect us from the curious and hostile eyes of others. We will join this great and salvific cosmic silence very quietly and with the utmost discipline. This quiet, epoch-making event will be our final act of coming of age as a truly intelligent species. We will forever cease to be foolish, clueless, screaming children in this dark forest. Humanity will learn to listen attentively to the universe, never revealing its exact coordinates to aggressors. Intelligent and extremely cool-headed caution will completely supplant our former reckless and foolish openness. We will have to completely overhaul our entire terrestrial energy infrastructure and global communication system. Radio waves will be replaced by secure quantum communication channels that are absolutely impossible to intercept from the outside. Orbital stations will become black and completely light-absorbing so as not to reflect against the backdrop of the sun. Even the excess thermal radiation from our cities will be carefully redirected deep into the planet. To any outside observer, Earth will visually transform into an utterly lifeless and cold stone sphere. But until then, we remain completely alone in our small and isolated planetary system. We continue to circle endlessly and monotonously around a lonely yellow star on the edge of the galaxy. Our fragile blue planet flies through dead space, tightly surrounded by an invisible wall of silence. We write our brief history, completely unaware of whether there are any outside observers. The crushing, absolute uncertainty is the heaviest burden on our collective searching minds. Days quickly pile up into years, and years merge into monotonous and anxious decades of waiting. Our world now seems like a small lifeboat in the center of an utterly black, bottomless ocean. The radio in the lifeboat is hopelessly broken, and there is not a single lighthouse or other passing ship on the horizon. We are forced to constantly maintain strict order within our tiny, closed-off community. Only internal unity can save us from a final plunge into the abyss of gloomy despair. Think about this terrifying fact the next time you look up at a deep, clear, starry night. You will never again in your life see the familiar, friendly, open, shining world up there. You will see before you, with crystal clarity, a gigantic, utterly unsolvable, and incredibly cold enigma. This beautiful, sparkling dome above our heads deliberately and very cruelly hides the answers from us. We stand, like tiny grains of sand, before a mystery capable of erasing our entire existence in an instant. The vast distance to the nearest stars now seems to us not an annoying obstacle, but a saving buffer. These light years of emptiness give us at least some illusory head start in our linear time. While they traverse this incredible distance, we will be able to prepare, at least a little, for the worst. But even this illusion of safety melts away instantly at the thought of the aliens' faster-than-light technologies. Any earthly defense is simply laughable against those capable of easily altering the very laws of physics. For centuries, we have believed with the utmost sincerity in the power of the human mind and Earth's science. We naively thought that we were just a couple of steps away from a complete and final understanding of the universe. But now, our best minds, with chilling fear, acknowledge their complete intellectual defeat. Our advanced, proud physics has turned out to be nothing more than a childish game in a small, enclosed sandbox. The great cosmic silence has harshly shown us our true, insignificant, and very humble place. All our prestigious Nobel Prizes and brilliant discoveries have been completely devalued in a single historic moment. The most complex equations and quantum mechanics have become nothing more than a detailed description of the walls of our cozy prison. We were incredibly proud of our knowledge, completely unaware that we were studying only a tiny fragment of the scenery. The true hidden architecture of the universe functions according to mathematical laws that are utterly alien to us. Acknowledging this fundamental weakness proved to be the most difficult test for our entire scientific community. We are forever doomed to gaze at this impenetrable and deafening wall of the great cosmic silence. Trillions of other intelligent beings may be forever separated by the cruel laws of a physics unknown to us. No one in the vast, vast universe can pierce this wall of separation with their signals. We are all merely eternal and blind prisoners of our deepest and most unforgivable ignorance. And with each new decade, these invisible chains of information tighten around us only more tightly. Desperate attempts to reach out to other prisoners strongly resemble a muffled knock on the wall of a solitary confinement cell. You never know for sure who exactly is on the other side or whether they are friendly. In response, you may receive either ringing silence or a harsh order to be quiet from a cruel jailer. Therefore, we have stopped knocking and now listen with the utmost attention to every rustle. This quiet and very tense game of hide-and-seek may last for millions of years until the very end of time. The realization of this total isolation shapes a new philosophical paradigm for all future generations of Earthlings. We are learning to find the highest meaning in the very fact of our incredible biological existence. The absence of external reference points forces us to look much more closely within ourselves. Perhaps humanity's true potential will only be revealed under the conditions of this most brutal cosmic isolation. We must build an ideal world on a single planet, forever forgetting about the conquest of distant stars. Reality is not merely radically different from our bold mathematical expectations and predictions on Earth. It is fundamentally and uncompromisingly hostile to the very natural process of free inquiry and interstellar communication. The universe should be teeming with vibrant life, but it is mathematically and artificially empty. Highly advanced civilizations must certainly exist according to all laws, but they are physically absent. This means that something is truly very wrong with this vast universe.